Welcome to Chat With Me. I am your host, Robin Hoffman, and I have a wonderful guest for you today. I am so honored for you to be here today. We have Ed Riordan. Yay! This is where like the live audience claps. And I'm just so honored, truly. I joke about it, but I'm truly honored that you're here today to talk to us about
Honor Flight Central Florida.
Honor Flight Central Florida. What does Honor Flight do?
Honor Flight Central Florida is your local hub of the Honor Flight Network. It's a national organization that's been in existence since 2006 with a simple mission to provide the way and means for most senior veterans to travel to Washington, D.C. so they can view and reflect at the memorials that were built to honor them.
That's beautiful. Yep. Any veteran, or do they have to be from specific time periods, or?
That's a great question, because initially the organization was established to make those trips possible for World War II veterans. In 2005, the World War II Memorial was finally dedicated, and that's 60 years after the end of World War II. And so surviving World War II veterans were already well into their 80s at that time. And a gentleman in Springfield, Ohio, named Earl Morse, who's a veteran himself of the Air Force and a physician's assistant that worked at the VA and came into contact with a lot of World War II veterans, thought it would be a great way to give back to his community and to the World War II surviving veterans that he knew, and decided that since he had access to a private plane and a license, he wanted to take two World War II veterans that he knew to Washington, D.C. to see their memorial. He shared that with some of his friends, and in May of 2005, Earl and 5 other planes and 12 World War II veterans from Springfield, Ohio, all flew out to Washington, D.C. to go visit the newly dedicated World War II Memorial. Wow. And since that time, the network has developed to where now, because of the diminishing numbers of World War II veterans, but we also serve Korea War veterans and Vietnam veterans. There are now 130 Honor Flight hubs located in 46 states all throughout the country. And since the organization first started, we've taken 233,000 veterans collectively to Washington, D.C. to visit their memorials. A gentleman in North Carolina, up in northern North Carolina, up in the Asheville area, heard about what Earl had done. As you might imagine, he got some press and some media coverage. And he's a dry cleaner by trade. And Jeff decided that he wanted to replicate what Earl had done, but blow it up a little bit.
Okay.
So
we're going bigger, go big or go home, right?
So, exactly right. So he made it his business to knock on the doors of all the businesses in his community and raise enough money to charter a jet and take 150 veterans to Washington, D.C.
Wow.
And since that time, like I said, the network has grown over the years to, where we're now blessed to be, on this journey, if you will, for quite a number of years, and been very successful in carrying out our mission and serving the veterans that we all love and respect so much.
I have several questions for you. I'm going in my brain like, what do I ask first? So in Central Florida, how many of these flights are taken and how often?
There are 9 Honor Flight hubs in Central Florida because Florida is the most heavily populated state for veterans. That's right.
That's
Arizona is a close second. And Southern California, as you might imagine, when everybody's retiring, they're heading down to the warmer climes to be comfortable. And so we have 9 hubs. Actually, there were 4 in the Central Florida area. There's a hub in the Villages that operates strictly to serve those folks in Lake County and in the Villages. There's a hub out in West Central Florida that flies out of St. Petersburg. We have another sister hub called Space Coast Honor Flight that exists out in Melbourne. They also fly out of Orlando Airport, but 3 hubs, I think, down in South Florida. We've got one up in Tallahassee.
The hubs, I'm so sorry, I really have so many questions. Are they coordinated to where you guys will fly to DC so that everyone's there at the same time, or are they all just individual trips?
Each hub is its own separate business unit,
Okay.
so we're sanctioned by the national network if we comply with the policies and the procedures and follow the basic mission. But then from that point, we each are a standalone organization that plans our own trips, how many veterans we'd like to try to take during a given year, how many flights we might like to have. We're responsible to raise our own money locally because this is a local-based organization. We're basically taking veterans from right here in the 3 or 4 county area that we
so
live
how
in.
does that happen? How do you get funded?
We have to do a lot of fundraising on our own to make that happen.
Are we talking bake sales or car washes or like how do you?
Well, our biggest annual fundraiser, and we have our 3rd annual coming up in March of 2020, is our Hot Rods for Heroes car show.
Nice.
So that's a big annual fundraiser that we do. And then we are also blessed by being recognized by a lot of veteran-oriented organizations that might run their own fundraising events with proceeds going to us to make that possible. So we need to raise about $50,000 a year to take the veterans that we do. Trips cost on the average of about $500 to take a veteran, and of course there's no cost at all to a veteran to make these trips. All they need to do is apply, and then we follow a certain criteria to give them seating. A terminally ill veteran of any era goes to the top of the list.
Okay.
And then World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. So they're basically in their 70s, their 80s, or their 90s when we take them. And we've taken veterans as old as 101 years old.
Wow.
On our last trip, just last Saturday, we were blessed to take a 99-year-old woman who served in the United States Army as a nurse in World War II.
That is incredible.
It is.
So what happens when they come home?
We look
aside from being changed, like their lives just being.
You know, that's actually very accurate description, because it is a life-changing event for many of them. But when we arrive back in Orlando, the close to the day, the close to their honor flight, is we love to fill up the airport with a lot of folks, with flags and signs.
I just got goosebumps.
Yeah, flags and signs, and create a receiving line, if you will, so that when we enter the terminal, single file, they can all be personally thanked for their service. They don't know that it's going to happen. They've had a long day up in the Capitol, and so when they enter the terminal, they think that their day is over, and we like to really put a nice period on the end of that sentence. So that they can see. This past Saturday night, we had a flight on the 21st, and when we arrived back into Orlando Airport at the Terminal A, we had about 400 folks there ready to greet us with flags and signs and family members. And
wow, how do you even get those people there? Do you just advertise that you're doing it, or?
We're very active on social media.
Okay. That's great. How can they find you on social media?
We're on Facebook. Honor Flight Central Florida Hub is our Facebook page. And then our all roads lead to our website, which is honorflightcentralflorida.org.
Okay. That's amazing. 400 people sitting there waiting. It must just be so beautiful. And then are you documenting this?
Of course.
Ooh, how? Tell me how.
Well, we travel on every trip to be able to serve. A typical trip for us, we'll take 24 veterans, area veterans, along with 24 Honor Flight Guardians. Honor Flight Guardians are folks.
And how are they vetted?
Honor Flight Guardians apply to be on our trip for what we consider the privilege of accompanying one of our heroes on their trip. And they're responsible to make sure that that veteran doesn't have a care in the world during their day up in the Capitol, other than getting to view and reflect at the memorials that were built for them, that they have a great day. That they eat when they should, that they take the pills that they may need to when they should.
Just a caretaker, literally.
And they don't even need to take a step, because on a typical trip we'll travel with 24 vets and 24 guardians, but along with that, 24 lightly armored personnel carriers that most people call wheelchairs. And so we sit our veterans, our honorees, in a wheelchair, and see to it that they don't, if they're not up for it or don't need to, their guardian is their motor for the day and gets them where they need to go. and make sure that they're in the shade if it's a sunny and hot day, and that they have everything that they need to, again, not have a worry in the world, and can truly get the best out of their on-flight mission.
Oh, so beautiful. And how did you, Ed, get involved?
That's a great question. So our local hub started in 2011. The group was founded. In 2012, we held our first flight, October of 2012. Someone had told me about this group and that they were going to be running this flight and what their mission was. And my wife and I both thought it was the neatest thing. And
it is amazing.
So we went down to the airport to greet the flight.
Oh,
and
okay.
We were hooked at that point.
That's it.
We were just hooked. So we became involved on the board. Both of us were voted to be members of the board at that time. And Nancy at that time was responsible for programs, so she organized outside events that we do, orientations and reunions built around our flights. I was director of marketing for 2 years. And then since that time, I've been the chairman now for 5 years running. Next year will be the end of my third 2-year commitment to run the organization. Nancy's third 2-year commitment as director of veterans, so she actually gets to speak to all the veterans that go on the trip before we ever get to meet them. And we both feel personally compelled to do what we do because of a legacy of service in each of our families. So Nancy's dad, Bert, was a combat medic in the Army during the Korea War. Bert was awarded a Purple Heart when he was shot while taking care of a fallen soldier at Heartbreak Ridge. That was her father. Her grandfather served in World War II on a destroyer escort in the Pacific. My dad is really the reason I'm so personally vested in these trips. My dad was my personal hero. He was 17 in December of '41 when Pearl Harbor was attacked, and he was a senior in high school in Manhattan and chose to drop out of school, like so many of our members of our greatest generation did. And he served 3 years in China, Burma, and India, which makes him one of America's first jungle fighters. And he was combat infantry and an engineer. And I lost Dad in 2006 before he ever had the opportunity to see his memorial. And Dad bled red, white, and blue. He's one of those guys that got up every morning to raise the flag in front of his house, and every evening took it down. I was raised in a very patriotic household, and respectful, always respectful of those that served. My grandfather was a World War I veteran. So his story a little similar. He was in the Army Reserves in Manhattan, and was with the Fighting Irish, was the division that he was with, and his unit was activated. They became the 269th Division, which was most people refer to as the Rainbow Division, and he saw 214 straight days of continuous combat on the Western Front in 1917.
Wow. So
this is just my way of giving back, and for the World War II veterans in particular. When I look down at the plane or on the bus and I see those older veterans on these trips, that's my dad filling those seats. He's finally getting to see his memorial, and so I think it's important that all those, especially the most senior ones, that they get to see that these memorials will endure long after they're gone, as a tribute to what they did and to their fallen comrades, those that we've lost. We think that's really important, that they know that their services and sacrifices will never, ever be forgotten.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you for everything that you do for our veterans. Thank you for being here and telling us about it. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's very nice of you to say that. It's not about me. It's all about our veterans.
But sometimes it's about you. And I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, take care of yourselves and don't forget to take care of each other.